Morning. Today's the 7th of November. That's quite a while since I've talked on a video. And I'll be giving you the reason why here in just a moment. Um, we have covered a lot of subjects on all the videos that I've done. And I think that what I'm going to do here is in giving a meditation I had at night once when I couldn't sleep, just recently. It kind of covers a whole scope of things that I've talked about on here, as well as maybe my friends have heard me talk about in the past.
Right. Okay.
And I'm putting this on a video so that it can bring all of these things together, because that's the way my meditation went. So the sources, I'm going to give you the sources that I've jotted down here. These go back to what I read as a young child.
Okay.
For instance, I went to the library as a child and I'd read everything I got my hands on. And I came to the section of science and I was reading there, and I pulled out a book and I took it home and read. It was all about evolution.
Wow.
I finished that book and I said to my mom, "This sounds like a fairy tale." And I didn't know what to make of it. But then I got a class in college called physical anthropology, and we got into it again. So I want to talk a little bit about, that's going to come into it. Then when I was a teenager, I read the Encyclopedia Britannica in the summer because I was in charge of my sisters. I was her babysitter. And that's what I did to use my time when I wasn't taking care of her.
Unusual person for sure.
Well, I read some interesting things in the Britannica that I've never forgotten. So also my sources go back to my reading of the Bible all my life, Bible school, heard churchmen speak, because I formerly was a Christian. Never was afraid of opposing views, so I would weigh things. This is something they need to teach children so that when they go to college, they don't swallow everything they hear.
Some of your co-workers called you a heretic.
Yeah, and I was called a heretic many times. But we can't, and I would read, excuse me, but I would give my view and preface it with, "I'm not sure everything I'm saying is right, but this is the way I'm thinking."
Right.
And I still do that because none of us know the whole scope of everything.
No.
So then I took counseling to finish my degree in sociology, and then I started learning in the synagogue, the cult, because I wanted to learn biblical culture more, and I started learning Hebrew. And then we started coming to Israel. I talked to rabbis, and I was given questions, and I got answers, and I studied these answers, and then I read a lot of rabbis, Tovia Singer, Skobach. I listened to Rabbi Friedman, Manas Friedman, and Mizrahi, and I can't name them all because there's been so many. There's one called Anava. He's very interesting. And then I read a lot of documentaries and watched documentaries from National Geographic, which gave things that,
all that has
all that goes into
yeah.
What I'm going to present. And so I'm not going to reference a particular person unless I can remember it exactly.
Right.
And so I've been recovering from an illness recently, and I guess I'd had plenty of sleep because one night I wasn't sleeping too well. So, and I was beginning to feel better, and I started meditating. And that's what I do when I can't sleep. And the first, where I started with this meditation, I was thinking about Zechariah 14, where Hashem comes in his Shekinah glory with the saints. It says with the saints in many translations. It says the holy beings. And I thought about that, and I said to myself, would the Jews call this the resurrection that Daniel reports in his 12th chapter about God bringing the life into the people? And they stand up, and there's some that go to damnation, and others are resurrected to live on the earth. And so I studied that. I thought about that a little bit, and I realized that Daniel doesn't mention this, but in Zechariah it talks about this light that happens, and how people, it's like an atomic light or hydrogen bomb explosion, because their eyes melt in their heads, but this wouldn't affect it. There's natural people that this doesn't affect. It sounds like the Israelis lived through this, but they seek hiding. They seek to be shielded from this light. And I got to thinking about this light, and that took me back to Genesis in the beginning, because we've been starting the Torah again, and we've been reading Genesis 1, and I've read some more rabbis and then also Dennis Prager.
Right.
I've got his book, his newest Bible commentary, which gives the scripture and the Hebrew, and then he makes commentary on it. And he, and among other rabbis, some of them Orthodox even, say that we don't have 7 24-hour periods for the 7 days of creation, because there is no 24 hours until the sun and the moon are brought forth. So when you think about the beginning, the first thing is light that is given. And there now I've been thinking about light. Now I come to light again in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I stopped to think about this. We make atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs by splitting the atom, the smallest element of building blocks.
Yeah.
And that makes a power.
Yeah.
However, God can't be split in two.
No.
And light comes from him. He is not light per se, but it all came from him. So they talk about a big bang. Now I'm thinking all of this in my meditation. And a lot of religious people like to talk about this big bang, whether it was really a big bang or whether
Was gradual.
Well, some of the scientists say it wasn't God. It was just something that spontaneously happened.
Because of the universe or because of creation.
Okay, and then the religious people say God made everything from nothing. What's no thing? That means there's no material existence.
Right. Yeah.
But there's still God. Now, God does something, and we've got something.
From no thing to something.
It's from no thing to something. So that's where the Big Bang comes in, doesn't it? At least it looks like it to me.
Yeah.
So what did he do? He had to clear space. Well, he's all everywhere.
Yeah.
He couldn't make something from nothing without clearing enough space to put something.
In other words, he wasn't there.
This is an amazing thing. He took away from himself in order to create a place. Now in Hebrew, and it's clear through the Bible, they call it makom.
Mm-hmm.
That means the place.
The place. Yeah.
We call it the space. So when he emptied himself from this, whatever we call the place,
Mm-hmm.
it probably at that point created the Big Bang.
Oh, okay.
Because some kind of energy from him had to how would you say it? Withdraw itself.
Yeah, withdraw itself.
And in doing that, it would create this Big Bang. Well, what's the first thing that happens with the Big Bang? You get light. It's like when you take silk and you move it over something. If you're in a dark room, you can see sparks come from it because there's the friction. So the first thing that
We have thunder and lightning too.
right, that comes from the light moving. So it could have been noisy, but who would know? There wasn't anything to listen to it. There was nothing to see it. So actually, before the Big Bang, God created things that aren't things. They're ideas. So what are some of the ideas that he created? This is what all of this went into my meditation that night. Some of the things that he created was redemption, forgiveness. You can't picture any of these things. No. I suggest we go through a dictionary, list every noun and verb that is either material or not material. And you see all the things that he created that can't be seen. So he created all the unseen things that were going to be in the place before he made the place. That means you have salvation before you even need to be saved. And saved means a physical thing as much as anything.
Yeah.
Because he's making things. Now, light, when it comes down into this place, can't be described by scientists say you can't describe it as matter or non-matter, but or energy. It's some kind of a combination of these things. Now, matter is after there's wavelengths created from this light. That's how we get the spectrum of the 7 colors.
Okay.
And so that becomes a vibration or a wavelength. So you get wavelengths from light, which becomes matter. And as the wavelengths slow down, the more collected hardness there is to matter. And so this is how the worlds and the stars and all these things were formed, was from this light taking on different vibrations. And so as Tanya is written by a rabbi. It's a book written by the Chabad, the rabbi that started Chabad.
Okay.
And he says everything's alive, including rocks. Why? Because the atoms that make that rock, or any item that you can see, has a vibration, because atoms are always vibrating in order to be an atom. So everything is alive to some degree. And that's what is making up our material creation. And so from that, I was thinking about how God spoke and there was light. And I sent this to some of my friends recently, how the real arm is something that can't be seen. It's God's arm. And we're just a picture of God's arm. His arm can do things. Ours can't do any of the things that he does in some sense unless he empowers us to do it. And he speaks and things happen.
Mm-hmm.
We speak and we hope it happens.
Right.
You know, so we're just, it's like when I was a child and I wished that I could be in my dollhouse
Oh yeah.
with the dolls and making them do things better. And,
Ah.
you know, and I could reach in and move them here and there, you know, but God's like that from his place to, from where he exists until into this place. The place is his dollhouse, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that illustration because he can't come into the dollhouse himself or to ruin it.
Yeah.
That's why he took away himself from that dollhouse. Now, when I was reading as a child the Encyclopedia Britannica, I ran across this place where the scientists said there's some kind of energy or power coming into the universe that keeps it alive. And I thought, oh my goodness,
Wow.
this is God.
Yeah, sure. What else could it be?
So he holds this place in place and he keeps it energized so that it operates. And that is come to be known now as his Shekinah, because Shekinah comes from a word in Hebrew that means to dwell, to dwell with you. The neighborhoods are called Shekinah. And so God, when he wanted to talk to the Hebrews, he said, this Hebrew word comes up, Shekinah, I'll dwell with you. And so this energy that comes from God is his Shekinah coming into the place to keep things moving.
That was a pillar of light in the wilderness.
Yeah, the light is associated with him. And so he can put on as much Shekinah as he wants.
As much as we can take.
As much as we can take. Or if he has enemies, he can put on a little bit more.
Yeah.
That is, if he wants to get rid of his enemies. But he's very long-suffering. This is one of the things that was created in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really want to wipe wicked people out. He would rather they repent because he made them, and he loves all the stuff he's made.
Yeah.
He has a purpose. That's the only reason why we exist is because it's for his purpose. And I got that from Rabbi Manis. He emphasizes this, that it's God that created a need for himself, not we aren't the ones that need. He needs us in good shape. He needs us doing his work in this place. And this place is kind of a mess right now. And so we need to find out what we're supposed to be doing to help his program along. And one of the best things is to get into these unseen things that he's created, like love and mercy. But this is another thing that came to my mind. I just recently...
I mean, people keep teaching this is what man needs. He needs mercy, he needs love, he needs all this.
Okay, I read, I think it might have been Freeman, but it might have been someone else I read. I can't remember. See, that's my problem. I'm always reading things and I don't take notes. But he said, oh, I know, it was Rabbi Sachs.
Okay.
He said that too much judgment, you got judgment or justice on one hand, and you got mercy and grace on the other hand. If you have too much justice, that lowers the amount of mercy. If you have too much mercy, you get too much crud and wickedness.
Yeah.
Because that flourishes under no justice.
If people don't change, they just keep on.
Yeah, they just keep, because they're getting away with it.
Yeah. like a child that gets away with something that's never corrected.
So to have good government, you have to have a good balance of these two things. And this is the way God operates. He wants us to have the freedom that He gave us. But in order for us to have a freedom that allows other people to have freedom, we have to have this balance of mercy and justice.
I think everything as far as government and the way man functions and so forth, when they come up with what seems to work, it's based on the principle of what God is.
Mm-hmm. Now, in making things from nothing, God knows some things that we don't know.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things He knows is what's good and what's bad.
Yeah.
Because that's the way a creator, anything I create, I know if I've made a slip in my plan and it's not good. And He knows, so He knows what's good, that this is judgment, this is discernment and justice, to know what's good and bad. But He also knows how to recreate or make good what is bad. And He's in the business for doing that. Okay? So He gives this Adam, this man that He's made, a choice. But before we get to that, I started meditating about the things He created after He has these swirling bodies of stars and planets,
Right.
et cetera, and how it wasn't necessarily a 7-day period. And then I thought, this is where evolution comes in. Do you know what?
What?
There are rabbis that believe that evolution is okay to think about.
Oh, okay.
If you put God in it.
Yeah, right, yeah.
If you leave God out, then it's just a bunch of junk. It's another one of those discerning
It all
things.
happened accidentally.
Yeah. But if He chooses to do something that looks to us like a lot of time,
Yeah.
but to Him it's no time at all.
Right. One day is 1,000 years. 1,000
Well, and
years.
He can have billions of years, and that doesn't matter to Him either, because time isn't an issue. He's doing something. So you can have light existing, and it doesn't matter that you don't have to know what's going on under that light at that time. So you can have billions of years of light without a sun and a moon shining on an earth.
Oh,
And He could be doing all kinds of things. So we know that some of the planets have a mist or a gaseous thing that keeps the sun from actually reaching any brightness through some of that.
Mm.
And we don't know what He had on the earth, that we had light but no sun and moon.
Mm-hmm.
So billions of years could go by. So what is happening? We don't know. We might be having, He might be forming other things. He might be bringing to life, which takes place after the sun and the moon. But these things are maybe planted into the soil of this earth, or the soil is being made, or, rock deteriorates very slowly. So we don't know exactly what went on before the sun. The purpose of the sun was to give stability to this planet He was going to make a garden out of.
Yeah, and for the man He's going to put on
And the man He was going to put it on.
Right.
So it's interesting that it was made, the sun and the moon were made for seasons.
Mm-hmm.
That means that the axis of the earth had to be tilted a little bit, at least a little bit, to get a change in the seasons.
Yeah.
Now, it may not have been tilted as much as we've got today,
Right.
but it would have been tilted a little bit.
Hmm.
There was something to mark off, this is a season for this, and this is a season for that. So we don't know how much it was tilted. It may have not had seasons like we know today, but it may have had the implication of eventually there's going to be seasons of harvest and uh, and
Yeah.
growing and that sort of thing.
Right.
So then the grass comes.
So he set up the environment for it.
So he's setting up the environment when he has the grass come up the next day. And then he says, well, now I can call forth from the earth the animals. And then he can call forth man as one of those animals. Now,
It seems to make sense that it took longer than just one day for all this stuff to happen.
well, he could bring it forth in the remaining 4 days. No, 3 days. The remaining 3 days, he could bring it forth, but it would be only a potential of what it's going to be. Okay, I have 5 more minutes, so I'm thinking about how all of this fits into the evolution of things and some of the other things that I have read that makes, for me, may not for you, an answer to why they keep talking about Genesis 1 and 2 not being the same.
Oh, okay.
Some say it is the same day,
Mhm.
and some say it isn't the same day
Right.
because it doesn't really say.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't say, we're only guessing.
Right, yeah. People can say this and that, but it doesn't say.
But the rabbis also say that somehow or another, science or the study of things and how they work comes out with what God has said about things. And his perspective is not scientific, it's fact and something for us to be able to grasp a hold of and do something with our lives and something in the plan that he has for the planet. And so I'll leave it there and we'll pick up more of this meditation at that point the next time I make a video. So have a good day. And if you think, well, this isn't really important to my life now, well, it is. It's the foundation of what everything is going on. And this is why the meditation came to me. Something is going on all the time that progresses to what God really wants.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, this is my last bombshell for today. I don't think he's trying to get us back to the Garden of Eden. He's taking all of mankind, in spite of our failures, to what he had planned in the beginning that was greater than any Garden of Eden.
Wow.
Okay?
That's something to look forward to.
Okay, so we'll talk to you a little later.